I have a strange feeling that Internal Affairs is going to call me into the office on Monday for a drug test. Hey guys, what is going on? I hope everybody had a fantastic week. Because of the last video I released, apparently you guys liked Staten for whatever reason.
That's how I talk.
So I decided to bring them back. So today we are talking about a topic that is very taboo in the law enforcement community, and that is the legalization of marijuana. And part of the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because 420 was on Thursday, so I figured that it would be a good topic to talk about. All right, so first, I think it would be a good idea to kind of outline like what each one of us believe as far as marijuana legalization. I'm going to start with Staten because I kind of want to hear what he says. He told me earlier something interesting I didn't know, and I'll let him explain that. I'm not going to ruin it for him. But tell us your stance personally on the legalization of marijuana.
As a police officer, I have a job I have to do. And I mean, as a cop, you swear an oath to enforce laws, uphold laws, and marijuana is illegal, so I'm always going to do what I have to do, for my job. But my personal stance is, I honestly believe it should be legalized. There's a misconception that people on weed are super mellow and super nice, which I'm sure is the majority of the thing. But some of the most hardcore like fights, people like fighting me and stuff like that, have been people that smoked weed, and that's probably mostly due to their personality, not because of the weed. But I think it should be legal. I think it should be taxed just like cigarettes, and medical benefits. It's got psychological benefits. Most of them are positive. I'm sure there's all addiction problems that come with it, just like anything else. I mean, alcohol has addiction problems, cigarettes have addiction problems. If it's got a positive medical benefit, I think we should use it, especially for that purpose. I personally have never partaken in the marijuana and the devil's lettuce.
That is, okay, that's kind of what I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Staten has never tried marijuana, and it's not very often that I meet somebody that has never tried it, but that they are considered like an advocate for it. And something I wanted to kind of bring up to you, and it's not so much to argue, it's just the reason why you have fought with people that have been high on marijuana, you have to think about the areas that you work.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's different. You can't say, well, 3 people fought with me and 2 of them were on marijuana, so marijuana is likely to make them fight.
Exactly.
You never know, what somebody's going through, what's going through their mind when they're dealing with the police. That's a lot of stuff you got to keep in mind. You can't put a blanket reasoning on stuff like that, on why people act the way that they act.
Guys, that's a very good point that Staten just made, and that's one of my favorite traits about him, is that he's very open-minded about it. So, he doesn't characterize or place everybody in the same category just because of a few incidents. And I think that's a really good and admirable quality to have, not just as a person, but as a cop. So me personally, I have to agree with him. I think it should be legalized. His experiences with people on weed are a lot different than mine. I have never encountered somebody violent that's been high on marijuana. I think the only time I've seen an aggravated assault with someone that was smoking weed was like on a bag of Doritos.
2 or 3 times kind of thing that happened with the marijuana, but it's not like an overwhelming statistic with me. I don't think I have an effect that makes people that are flying the Mexican Airlines violent towards me.
It's hard to tell if that's a marijuana or another Mexican reference.
Yeah, why do they all have to do with Mexico? I thought we came from Canada.
The weed up there just makes people really nice. Let's smoke a blunt, eh? All right, so I am going to let you guys in on a little secret. I don't tell many people this. I don't know, for multiple reasons, I guess, but I am going to tell you guys about the first time I ever tried marijuana. The neighborhood I was living in, there was a girl that lived there. She was a really good friend of mine, and we hung out constantly. Like, you could not separate us. We were always together, always chilling. And she had been smoking weed for a long time, and she was like, you should try it. I mean, it'll probably just like mellow you out. The typical like peer pressure thing, you know what I mean, that you hear about in like school and stuff. Anyway, I decided that I was going to give it a shot, and I ended up giving her $60 for the weed.
I thought she was your friend.
But anyway,
your first time, dude?
Yeah, it was.
She charged you?
Yeah.
I bet you it wasn't even $60 worth of weed.
Well, I think because her dealer was all nervous and stuff. Like, he didn't want to meet somebody new, but he knew her. So it was like, give her the money to give to me sort of thing.
I guess.
So anyway, I gave her $60, and she ended up coming back later that day with a small sandwich bag, and it had like 6 tiny little buds in it. And I thought I got ripped off. Like, I was like, what the hell is this shit? I had actually built my own bong before I ever smoked. I made it out of a little water bottle. I used like a socket with some clear tubing from Home Depot. Anyway, I ended up smoking like one of these little buds, and nothing happened. So I ended up calling her, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if this was supposed to have an effect, but it's not doing anything for me. So she's like, all right, well, you know, it doesn't work for everybody, so why don't you just come over, like we'll order some pizza or something. So I left my house, and I started walking down the street.
For the record, how old were you?
I think I was 16. And so I started walking down the street that my parents lived on, or my mom and stepdad. It was only, I don't know, it was only like the length of maybe half a parking lot. Like, it wasn't very long. It felt like it took 30 minutes to get to the end of the road. Like, it was taking forever. It felt like the road was stretching out further the more I walked. So finally I made it to the end of the road, right? Like, I had just gone on some 3-mile hike. And I get to the end of the road, I turn, I start walking towards her house. And I look up because I see something in the trees, and I guess the moon was like shining through, and I guess there was a little bit of wind. But to me, it looked like the trees were dancing together. Like, they were dancing in sync. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And I knew something was off. Like, I started hearing these sounds, like, off in the distance. Like, you pick up on the smallest things. Like, you can hear a bird, like, a mile away that you would never have paid attention to before. So I started walking, and at the end of the road, I see this huge pumpkin. It was, like, the size of, like, half a car. And it was a big pumpkin, and it was like a jack-o'-lantern because it was, like, smiling at me.
You're hallucinating
I was basically
pumpkin.
Yeah. And as I got closer to it, it changed into like a cartoon dog, like something like some 6th grade girl would draw.
That's why that shit costed $60.
Hell, I probably got a deal. As I got closer, it changed again to a lady walking like 6 dogs on one leash. So I end up getting to her house, and honestly, I don't remember much of the rest of the night.
She said you ordered pizza, so you know.
Well, no, she told me the next day that I wanted purple pizza with green pepperoni.
Sounds delicious.
I don't know about delicious, but I ended up crashing on her couch. And the next morning I went home, and when I walked by that object, you remember that object that was changing?
Yeah.
It was a fire hydrant. That was my first experience with weed. I think he like spiked it with LSD.
Maybe. Here's a question I have for you, because you've partaken in the devil's lettuce. You've cut the grass.
Well, I am Mexican, so I have cut grass a time or two.
How much more fun do you feel like our job would be if you were allowed to smoke while you were doing it?
Oh, no.
You wouldn't do it?
Nope. Hell
well,
no.
you'd be seeing giant pumpkins and shit.
Well, yeah. I'd be trying to tase a pumpkin.
They'd be like, this is cop pepper spraying a fire hydrant outside my house. Can someone come get him?
Now, here's my thing, and here's my reasoning and why I say no. Whenever I smoked pot when I was a teenager, I was never one of those functioning potheads. You know what I mean? Like, if I was going to smoke, I needed at least the next 4 hours to, like, soak into a couch and watch a movie.
But think of how much, like, our relations would improve so much, because you'd stop a car, you'd walk up with a bag of cheese doodles, and you're like, hey man, what's going on? Stop if you're speeding, but it's cool, bro. Don't worry about it, man. You know, and then you share your cheese doodles with the guy, and you give him a warning for speeding, or for taillight being out or whatever he was doing, and you let him go. And people are like, you know what? That was a good interaction. Like, that's how every car stop should be. Show up, bag of chips, you give him a chip, and you let him go. I think people would really respond positively to that. Think of like domestics, guy and wife fighting each other. You show up, got your bag of chips like in a holster or whatever on your belt, right? You show up, can't we all just get along? Pass a torch around, right? And that's it. And everybody's like, you know what? I'm sorry for getting mad at you for eating the last chicken wing. We've been married for however long. This will be fine. Thank you, officer, very much. You share some cheese doodles and you leave.
I think you should write the script for Super Troopers 2. But yeah, and what's funny is like with marijuana, like your short-term memory, like you'll be thinking about something and then you'll literally just as quickly forget what you were just thinking about. So I think if we were to make a traffic stop, by the time you got up to the window, you'd forget what you were stopping for, and then you would just share the cheese doodles.
Hey, I stopped you because I saw you had a dog in your car and I wanted to pet it. I have the urge. All right, I don't smoke or whatever.
Well, I hope you don't smoke. You've been a cop for how long?
Well, yeah, obviously. I like to think I'm kind of like a professional guy. Like when I'm at work, you know me when I'm working. I'm all business, man. I want to be the police. I love my job, and I know this doesn't have to do with weed, but I have the urge to like stop people and take Snapchat selfies with them. And I don't know why, but like I'll be up there and I'm like, listen, I stopped because you were speeding. Can't go that fast. I'm gonna give you a warning. And then I always have to stop myself because I want to be like, before you go, can me, you, and your dog take a selfie? Because there's a new filter and I really want to try it out, and it says I got to do it with a friend. No, I've never done that. Put this part in your video in case somebody from the department watches it. Never done that. It's a very unprofessional thing.
It's
But
a very professional.
I'm letting you guys in on like what's in my heart is sometimes I just want to take a selfie with people.
What if you used the dog filter
On a dog?
On a dog.
Jesus. I'll let you know. After we're done with this, when I get home, a couple minutes after I get home, I'm going to text you and let you know how it goes.
What if they put a
filter on
human face on a dog?
I feel like we should be smoking weed. Maybe when I retire, I'll move to Colorado where it's legal.
By the time you retire, it'll probably be legal everywhere.
But I don't think it'll ever be legal for a cop.
Oh no,
You know what I mean?
it definitely.
Like, even off duty. Like, we're allowed to drink off duty. I don't think we'll ever be allowed to smoke. With us, if we get into a wreck on duty, they immediately test us to make sure we're not drinking, make sure we're not, on something. You got to give them a pee test. You got to pee in a little cup, and weed stays in your system for however long. That's the only reason why I don't think it would ever be legal for people in emergency services, because if something happens, they need to be able to say, no, he wasn't under the influence of something.
Yeah.
So even if I smoked yesterday, I won't be high today, but it'll still be in my system, and there's always that doubt. If we get into a shooting, the least doubt, the better.
Well, and it's funny, like you were mentioning before, what it would be like to smoke while you're on duty. My old roommate that I had, he would smoke and then just go to work. Like, I never understood how he could do that.
It's just like functioning alcoholics. I would assume. I assume you build up a tolerance.
Well, yeah, I don't know though. I don't think you can compare alcohol to weed when it comes to that, because yes, you build up a tolerance. However, a lot of alcoholics drink just to be normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of potheads, they're not smoking just to be normal. They're smoking to get in a comfortable mindset. For him personally, smoking a blunt and going to work, that was his like cup of morning coffee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I never understood how he did that, because like I said, I just want to melt into a couch.
What motivated you to smoke it again after that harrowing experience with a giant pumpkin and a cartoon dog?
Honestly, I was scared. I was scared to smoke it again after that.
Did you think that was going to happen every
Yeah,
time?
I thought I was going to
assure
hallucinate.
you? No, that only happens your first couple times. You feel like.
Well, no, she never warned me of any hallucinations. Apparently,
She
that's
sounds
not.
like a real shitty friend. I don't know if you still know her.
No, not anymore.
Between charging you and being like, here you go, have fun. Go fuck yourself. Watch out for the fucking pumpkins, guy.
And I will say, and I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, I am not supporting or endorsing anybody using any kind of illegal narcotics. Even if it's legal where you're at, I think people should be at least 21 or older to be able to partake in that, just like alcohol. Yeah, I'm not encouraging it. I just, like I said, this is a very taboo topic, and I'm sure there are some departments that would probably be pretty upset with their people talking about, their opinions on legalizing it. I don't want to ruin an 18-year-old kid's life just because he had a blunt in the car. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean?
No, I understand.
Guys, sorry to stop this right in the middle. I want to know how many of you would watch a show if we both came up with a show. Can you imagine the Officer 401 and Staten show?
Yeah, hell yeah. You could wear like a funny mask every time.
It'd be like George Washington
Yeah.
one day.
Hillary Clinton the next day.
I was just about to say Hillary Clinton.
I love the Hillary. They're my favorite ones.
Or it could be a clown. Well, I guess Hillary and clown is the same thing.
Well, like one of us could be Hillary and one could be Trump. Whatever the masks are, we'll always like take on that rivalry or whatever. Like, oh yeah, send me an email about it.
What are you gonna do? Grab my pussy?
Yeah, I forget what we were talking about.
We are having a stoner's conversation.
Completely sober.
Well, completely sober. It's too early in the morning for this. Guys, I usually film videos probably like, 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. To be filming one at 11 in the morning after 2 cups of coffee.
We're so ahead of ourselves too, because we were trying to meet up at like 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
My ass wasn't even out of bed at 9:30.
I was up. I got up at like 6.
I'm so glad my shift starts at 2 p.m.
You're still like a college kid.
Oh man, I hate being out during the day with people and everybody's smiling at me and shit.
You sound like such a grumpy old man.
I'm trying to get my black cold brew coffee and just be miserable in my car.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Oh, so you remember me just telling you a few minutes ago about the roommate that I had that was always smoking weed?
Yeah.
So he moved to New Zealand for a little while, working for an internet-based company. And now he lives in Michigan. And now that he lives in Michigan, legally, he can grow, I think it's up to 8 plants or 12 plants or something like that for personal
that's a lot.
use.
That's
yeah.
a lot.
No, it is a lot. To like send me random pictures through Facebook of his whole grow room.
Yeah.
And he has this like whole hydroponics setup, right? And he's got like all these LED grow lights and fans and everything else, all those fertilizers.
Well, like guys, like weed becomes like their lifestyle. I don't want to say like it has a cult following because it's like an item.
That's kind of Good way to put
Honestly,
it, though.
You know what I mean? Like they're wearing what they call them, the drug rugs that you could buy from a gas station, and they're getting dreads, and they're wearing Bob Marley t-shirts, and they're calling everybody dude and groovy.
Here's my problem with marijuana. My problem with marijuana, it is becoming so commercialized now. I just saw an ad on Facebook about marijuana coffee.
Yeah,
that they're
I've
making
seen that.
like
Yeah,
K-cups
I've
for
seen that
Keurig
before,
that
yeah.
have the
Yeah.
marijuana. Okay, here's my thing. I am totally for people medicating with marijuana. If it helps you, it helps you. You know, I've seen documentaries of like kids that take pure THC. You know, they're not having seizures anymore, stuff like that. I am all for that. What I'm not for is when you need it every moment of your life.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's an addiction. That's a problem. And even though I'm an advocate for it, you know, everything in moderation, right? Including moderation. So, and that was a quote that my grandfather told me, everything in moderation, including moderation, right? Sometimes you have to go all out, go crazy with it. But when you're coming up with any possible way to get pot into your system, like, to me, that is a problem. I'm excited to see what the future holds for marijuana, but at the same time, you know, if everybody has to be high all the time, I'm not okay with that.
I'm an advocate, you know, for it, but also for the regulation of it. Just like alcohol, there should be laws about driving while you're under the influence of it.
Yes.
And that's a roadblock too, because how do you test for that? You know what I mean? Because it stays in your system for so long.
Well,
I mean, they might be able to come up with a breath test.
They have one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
there was
don't know.
actually a university. I can't remember which one. I'm sure you guys are going to let me know in the comments section. But there's actually a university, and these students came up with a breathalyzer type test for marijuana, which I think is genius.
That's good.
I don't think you should be under the influence of anything when you're driving.
Right.
I mean, like, it makes me nervous making videos
Right.
while I'm driving because it is a distraction. Somebody was giving me shit in the comments section like, oh, isn't it illegal to be filming and driving and blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, it's no different than talking on a cell phone, really, except I'm usually talking to myself.
I don't think it counts because you're wearing the fucking thing on your head.
So guys, we are going to wrap this video up. I appreciate everybody watching. Unfortunately, the reason why this video, I know this is going to be another long video, but we kind of have to keep it a little bit short because of this cheap ass camera that I bought. I really need to just use the GoPro, but I've been using this since day one. So if the camera dies, I lose the entire thing. So I'd rather end it before that happens. Guys, I appreciate your support. Staten, thank you so much for joining us once again.
Thanks again for the invite again.
And we will see you guys very, very soon.